I'd like to welcome everyone to the January National Monthly Forum, the Blue Dragon Forum. And I'm really happy to see everyone here. As always, we're trying to give you some continuing education, things that strengthen your knowledge and understanding of how to tackle your problems the Blue Dragon way. So glad you're here. And let me dive in and share my screen with you all. And we'll start this hopefully very engaging conversation here. At any time, jump in, stop me, ask your questions, because hopefully this is going to spark your interest, right? All right. So without further ado, let me just start with a couple of recent updates. This is what we've got going on, some projects that we just completed, and some upcoming events as well that I want to talk about. One of the things that I want to bring your attention to is on our website, we've updated our offerings. You know what our training offerings are, but our consulting offerings is really taking off. So we're doing a lot more for clients these days. So we don't just do a root cause, right? We can do entire functional area assessments of either operations or engineering or maintenance or work controls. We've just finished 2 huge leadership and team effectiveness assessments of complete power plants, nuclear power plants. Most of you in government know what a red team is. So red team readiness reviews, of course, mishap and OSHA investigations, which is just industrial safety type of root cause analysis. We do proactive risk-based management assessments, and that is a very sophisticated analysis of the defenses. We completed proactive refueling outage assessments, and that's pretty cool. You look backwards at your outages, learn your lessons, find out what's causing the problems from a Blue Dragon perspective, and then you prep for your next outage. And at the bottom there, we are talking to several inspector general offices, have done so in the past as well. We really like to help them with their investigations. They have to be neutral, unbiased, they have to cover a lot of ground. And typically, from what we know, they're not as good as they could be. So really wanted to harp on that. These are the last 2 big projects we completed here in the fall of last year. And they were nothing short of amazing what we were able to accomplish in about 5 weeks' time for each, give or take. They really pointed out some of the deepest seated issues as to why these plants were not performing at the desired levels. And it starts with leadership and team effectiveness. And that was just a phenomenal way to umbrella everything that goes on to make a nuclear power plant work effectively. And wouldn't you believe it, the top hitter, the top biggest problems in both of those plants was the equipment reliability. All right. Also, we recently, Commander Blankenship and I just attended the 38th annual Surface Navy Association Symposium that was held in Arlington, Virginia. We had a lot of fun going around meeting 20 different large companies like General Dynamics and Leidos and Amentum. And we got a lot of business cards and are pursuing business contacts in those areas. Lieutenant Commander Blankenship is going through our SkillBitch program, which I'll talk about at the end. He's actually finishing up. He's gone through BD2. He's gone through a month of master's level coursework. And now we're looking for projects to complete his training. So that was a lot of fun, but we're pursuing a lot of Navy contractors and the Navy itself. All right, so on screen, something new. We have a new resource center tab on our website. So you'll see it up there, resources, and you'll come to this screen and you'll have easy access to a lot of the things that we want you to have easy access to, like the reference library, all our blogs. But a couple of new things. I want everyone to take the individual assessment that you see here. It's free. You click it, you sign up and go. And really, it's testing your ability, your knowledge level in systems thinking, critical thinking, and problem-solving fundamentals. So it's a good check, right, to see how you're doing. It gives you a score. You can tell what that score means. There's an organizational assessment as well that you're also free to take. Of course, we have in the middle the hidden cost calculator that we really want you to use year in, year out, year to year. You should be calculating the cost of your CAP program. And it'll be shocking. It's a brand new hidden cost calculator, by the way. We added like 10 more things that you need to account for, not the rudimentary one I had last year. So it's much more sophisticated. If you haven't done one in a while, download it, execute it. Okay. Next, I want to promote our upcoming in-person workshop. It's at Y12. Everyone knows the New Hope Center, right? The New Hope Center at the Y12 National Security Complex, right outside Oakridge National Lab. Easy in, easy out, because there's no gate to go to the New Hope Center. And of course, we look forward to another fantastic class. They're a lot of fun, the in-person 4-day classes. And we are starting to offer a early bird discount. If you sign up a month early or before, you can use this promo code and you can get 10% off. So that's $300 off. This whole presentation is all about multi-tier Pareto analysis of your CAP databases using artificial intelligence. And I'd like to demo how to do that 1, 2, and 3-tiered Pareto analysis. And at the end, we'll have a brief conversation about SkillBridge and what we're trying to do there. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up a few points before I actually dive into a 10,000 row spreadsheet. Yep, that would be a mammoth thing to try to tackle manually the way we used to do it. But in terms of phase one and looking at data, and especially your CAP data, AI has been a godsend. So now I'm doing in a matter of hours and days what used to take me a long time. And I wasn't, well, let me just back up. I never tackled a 10,000 row data set, much less a 26,800 data set, which I also did recently. The most I ever did before that was a 250 row data set for the Yucca Mountain project. And manually, and that took weeks and weeks. Most of you and most of our clients are already developing their own large language model capabilities, right? So what I'm encouraging you to do is to periodically download your CAP database and include it as a data set into your AI, as well as all your procedures. That's going to help you in phase ones. So let me take a quick poll here. How many of you have already uploaded your entire site's procedures as a data set into AI? First of all, your procedures, are they uploaded yet? Oh, Los Alamos, fantastic. Livermore, fantastic. Anybody else? Robbie,
some
you guys,
functions, but not all functions.
Okay, but you're getting there. That's
Yeah.
good, Scott. So Bechtel is on its way. Duke at Idaho to a certain degree, good. Robbie, I'm surprised. Aren't you guys already full lockstep with AI?
So we're using AI a lot. So you mentioned that someone raised their hand saying we have our procedures, loaded. I'm not aware of it if we are. I know in capital projects.
Amy said, yeah.
Amy? So no, that's fantastic. So she's in a different area of the lab, and if they're doing that, that's fantastic. So
awesome. Now, most of you use Microsoft products, obviously, and you have Excel, but you have to ask your company to pay for a separate license for Excel with Copilot. That's not something everybody gets. It costs money. But I can guarantee you that if you're an RCA analyst, you should be able to justify getting one of these Copilot licenses and have it built into your software, your Microsoft software. It helps with all of it, by the way, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And I believe it's $30 a month. So that's a huge start. That is an entry level, along with the $20 a month ChatGPT. Those are entry level AIs, but they're better than the freebies. And those freebies can still be very useful. Okay, I'm going to show you the difference between what you get with a low level AI and with a high level AI in terms of reviewing a lot of information and putting out a report the way you want it. All right, so now let's go ahead. And by the way, any questions? All right, so how do we do a really good job of getting out in front, of proactively analyzing our defenses, making sure that we identify chinks in the armor, right? Weaknesses in our defenses, and shore them up before we have a big event? Well, you have to do training and analysis of low-level events, and that means you have to document low-level events. You're doing this to various degrees. If you're in the Navy or the military, you're not doing much of that. If you're at the labs, you're doing a little more. If you're in commercial nuclear, you're doing a lot. So it really varies out there by industries. You have to make it easy to document issues with as much info as you can get out of the people as fast as possible, right? If it's too much red tape, they won't do it. It's not going to happen. So you have to have some database so the issues can be get in there and they can be coded. Now, the important thing is coding is everything. If you have a human coding it and they're biased and everything is their pet codes of human error or whatever, instead have AI review the documentation and apply cost codes. That's a big help. You should be picking a select number of small issues for doing a 2-hour dive, and that's going to give you excellent cost codes. The more of that you can do, the better off you're going to be in the long term. And then AI can be used again for training and analysis. We're going to show you how that's done using multi-tier Pareto analysis of your CAP database. By the way, we've also used it on self-assessment databases, observation databases. We've done it all. And then the idea is once you spot a negative trend, go ahead and launch a full Blue Dragon. Now, my take on industry codes, right? Have AI assign cost codes. Cost codes is how you win and lose the game. I actually have looked at a lot of codes. I do not like the DOE cost tree, but I do like the IMPO performance objectives and criteria. And it has these high-level codes, and then below each one, it's much more granular, right? So over here is the IMPO PONC document. It really breaks down the major categories like organizational effectiveness, operational focus, equipment reliability. And for each of these, there are lots and lots of subcodes. And again, I'll be showing you that in a minute. So this is a great way to code things. And of course, it's ornery and it's manually laborious if you're trying to do that. But if you just pop this document into AI and tell it, use the criteria in the IMPO PONCs, oh man, it really makes things a lot better. So this is what they look like. For example, this is MA.1, which is maintenance. And the first one there would be MA 1.1, MA 1.2, MA 1.8, etc. And you can build out a really granular for tier 2 analysis, right? Tier 1 is the big one, MA1. Tier 2 is MA 1.8, that granularity. And you need that. And right now, it's all over the place, and I'm not sure that's being done really well. So I love this. This is commercial nuclear at its best. We've been doing this way for a long time. And now, what are we talking about? Multi-tiered, all right? Your first tier is your big level binning, the big picture. And once you have something of a big picture, you pick the top, right? The top 20% of issues that are causing you 80% of the problems. Hopefully, you're something like that. Then you go to the next tier. You pick that first bar, and you dive in and you analyze that. That's where your subcodes come in. So ER is the big tier code. ER 1.05 is the top hitter of all the ER subcodes, 1.01 through 1.25. And once you identify the biggest problems of tier 2, let's say ER 1.05, that particular area, now you ask AI, take all the entries for ER 1.05 and do an analysis and look for patterns and trends. Tell me what's wrong. We're going to do that right now. So this is exactly what I wanted to share with you and walk you through in terms of a demo. Any questions at this point before we start getting into the what I call a micro masterclass?
Yes, Rob.
Yes, sir, Scott.
What is the value of having AI look at, I'll call it the raw data, and assign cause codes as opposed to having the AI look at the raw data and just go right to, based on this information, what are the trends or what are the buckets, I'll call them?
Okay, that's a great question. The thing is, it prioritizes Pareto analysis. The number one value of Pareto analysis is to prioritize. And to do that, you have to have a frequency plot of what is your biggest problem? What are your biggest issues? The 80-20 rule. And Pareto's is just the nicest way, trending, applying a cost code, and drawing a Pareto chart is the nicest way to visually see what's going on, right? If you just have a, go from start to the end, I'm going to show you right now what that monster would look like, Scott. So to answer your question, why don't I show you the challenges of something like that? So here is the column of IMPO PONCs for this 10,000 row data set and 90 columns. All right. So if I pull out all the cost codes that are applicable, this is what it looks like. I'm going to just keep scrolling and scrolling. Look at the little progress bar on the right. All right. Now, are you going to tell it to just do a report? Which one of these would you pick? 1.3 EN 1.34 or EP 2.42? How would you know what to ask it to do? It's still going to have to organize the information. And guess what? In some kind of a frequency plot. So why not do a Pareto? How else would you do it? The other key thing is that people are trying to do this manually, and you end up with a lot of bias, a lot of quote favorite cost codes being used over and over. But this is a nightmare. This is a monster. And of course, I don't know if you have all of the sites creating condition reports and inputting cost codes, and you have this many cost codes to look at. I don't know. But this, for example, came from a nuclear plant in Canada. And the other one that I have came from a nuclear plant in Ohio. It was 26,800 line items, rows, with more cost codes than that, because each row can have more than one cost code, like you saw in this case, right? Each row has, I don't know, 4 or 5 cost codes. That many line items makes it really difficult and unwieldy to do manually, and we certainly don't want biased results. Scott, you good?
I mean, my thought is that you've got the narrative descriptions of what the issue was, or narrative description of the causes, because this is something we attended with Bechtel like 6-7 years ago before AI really got rolling. Just look at the narrative descriptions and have AI extract from that what are the common causes that you're seeing based just on the narrative description, kind of trying to bypass the whole step of assigning a cause code. Because cause codes, no set is perfect. At least I've never seen one.
Sounds like you're cutting the corner. I just wonder how effective it was unless you compared it to the other way. So unless you did a side-by-side comparison of doing it both ways, you wouldn't know. But let me park your question now to the end. Let me show you this process and see what you think, from theory to practice. So we want to look at 10,000 rows of information. I would like to create a first tier Pareto chart. And so I create my nice little prompt here. And here's the prompt I created. Hey, I want to use this file. I want you to use Python coding. You could tell it, use Python coding. Give me a Pareto chart of the cost codes in column Delta Foxtrot, the input PO and Cs. I say, from experience, I learned to tell it, do not use empty rows. Do not use any other columns that have the POC term, because there's POC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 immaterial. But I don't want to use all of the granular ER 1.01, ER 1.02. I simply want ER, the top codes, so I can build my tier 1. So I tell it, hey, only use the first 2 letters of each code. And I say, draw me the Pareto chart, right? Also give me the raw data so I can download it myself to Excel. Label the primary and secondary axes. Give me the values on top of each histogram. Include the percent values for each point in the cumulative percent. So I'm just telling it how to draw the chart. Okay, so now I go back to my chart here, and there it is. This is the prompt that I gave it. And the first thing it asked me is, hey, I'm not seeing the attached file. I mean, here it is, but since I said use the attached file, all right. So I said, okay, here is the file. So I loaded the file. Then it said, look at all these columns that I found with the word POC. And your instruction, and it's asking for clarification. But before I run the Python analysis, I want you to confirm whether you just want me to use this or also POC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, fine. So I say, no, hey, just use input POCs only, not the other columns. So now it did it in about, I want to say 30 seconds. Boom, it gave me the chart. So here's the chart that it spit out. And what I told it to label the axes, primary, secondary, the bottom and the top. I told it to give me the values on each because I want to see, about where the 80% cutoff is. And so you see here, ER, equipment reliability, work management, NP, CM, EN. So obviously the first three are my biggest hitters. And Scott, that's why I would like to see a Pareto, because I want to spend my time analyzing this set of 2,800 data points first and go to town on that. That's rich. So what's going on with ER? So now I go back to my Copilot over here and I create the next little prompt that says, okay, great. Now, using that same column, right? Using that same column, DF, this time only count the cost codes that start with the letter ER, but use the entire, ER 1.05, whatever the numbers are, use the entire code. All right. Do not use empty rows, and the rest is just the same. So now, once again, it goes back to work, gives me a summary of what it says, and it spits out another chart. Here it is, chart number 2. And it asked me, hey, you want me to put that in another tab? I say, sure. So he puts it over here. There's my breakdown of ER. And now I have ER 1.05, 2.18, 1.08, and you can look at the input PO and Cs to know exactly what those are, right? And you'll see the cumulative percent. There's a whole lot of things up front here that you could choose from, but you would pick ER 1.05 as the tier 3 analysis. So I've gone from a huge data set with a bunch of stuff honed in on equipment reliability. This is just the first tier 2 that I looked at. I could do a tier 2 on work management, and a tier 2 on NP, and a tier 2 on CM. Right now we're just working on tier 2 ER, and this is the first one. ER 1.05 is the first tier 3. Then we can do ER 2.18 as another tier 3. So this is just phenomenal slicing and dicing to the most insightful information that you can get. So now I go and I give it another prompt. And this time, I want you to prepare a report. Right? So once again, using the cost codes, but only ER 1.05. Now here's a huge difference. I want you guys to see what I'm doing. And Scott, to your point, I'm telling it, so on column DF, to only look at ER 1.05. But now go to column DC, the causes that I've identified, also column W, which is another thing, and column P, the condition description from the beginning, and analyze all of these columns for 1.05 as a group and look for patterns and trends and themes. Group the emerging patterns and themes based on affinity, list them in different sections, give them titles, prepare a report, provide 5 examples of each section that correlates to the themes that are most impactful, give me an executive summary and a conclusion. I told it exactly what to do and how I want the output. Copilot with Python goes back to work. And by the way, here's the lines of Python coding that it did. It'll show it to me if you want. There it is. Very good. So it does its thing. And here's a report, executive summary, and it starts down there. So I have a little button down at the bottom where I can simply copy all of this. There it is. There's the copy button. And I come in and I paste it on this same document here. And here's the key insights: aging degraded components, etc., etc., etc. Section 1, communication and signal integrity failures. Theme: here's some evidence-based examples of the things that it's gleaning from other parts of the data set. And I didn't even ask it for recommended actions. We could also throw on here, give me recommendations, but you know what? It did so anyway. Look at that. Recommend targeted review. Okay. Consider shielding. Need to enhance. Wow, this did on its own. I did not ask for this. It knew to give me some recommendations, and so on. Section 2. So you see what it would give you. Okay. Now, this is with the basic Copilot, but now I did the same thing over here in Chat GPT, $200 a month. And here's this report. This report is much more intense, much more insightful, much more detailed. It has all kinds of things that it could give me in terms of the history of things, what the site has done in some cases, recommended corrective actions, etc. So there is a difference in AIs. I wanted you to know that AIs are not all created equal, and the more you pay, the more you get. Hopefully, the LLMs that your company has is a good, deep research type LLM. Bottom line is, what does this look like in real life? Here we go. So this, if I break this out, is a massive evaluation. Then the data analysis that included a review of, in this case, 26,858 rows of information on an Excel spreadsheet. That's how many CRs we looked at. That's that number right there. Now, how long would it take to go through that much information? Of course, forget it. I wouldn't even begin. Wouldn't even know where to begin. But now let's take a look how this breaks out. Here is the tier 1 Pareto analysis. And there you see equipment reliability. And by the way, here's a little, oh, I don't have it. Where is my cheat sheet? There it is. Equipment reliability, OR is organizational effectiveness, and so on. So tier 1, and for each one of these in red, I did a second tier. So P2 through P8 are the tier 2 analyses. So let's look at P2, Pareto number 2, which is a tier 2 of equipment reliability. And there it is right beside it. So now I see here ER, and there they are, ER1, ER3, etc. And here there's 2 salient points, right? So here I have 2 salient points that I, again, colored in red because I want to pick those out for a tier 3 analysis. Now I say, take this code and give me everything you know, all patterns, all themes, and here it is. ER.1 analysis, and I get a deep, deep dive. And here's the other one, the second bar, ER.3 analysis, right? This one is equipment performance report. This one is equipment long-term reliability. And that is a multi-tier Pareto analysis. Now, this information is extremely valuable. As I showed it on this chart, you take those tier 2s and tier 3s, and here is where you generate questions. Here's where you can get very specific questions about the information that you're getting. All right, so what's the point of all the data analysis? Is to generate lines of inquiry questions based on facts, indisputable evidence, factually arrived at information that came from an analysis, an unbiased analysis of what's here. And so we could step through and do so much with AI. There's so many things that you can pursue, but you get a sense here of what we were able to do. Okay, let's go back over here and ask the sites. I'd like to ask the sites how you are doing trending and analysis of your entire CAB database going back 5 years, if you like. Here's what I really want to ask. I have a vendor who told me that he can have everything we just did here, right, automated on a GUI, a graphic user interface that we can build out. And it'll be built up as a Blue Dragon multi-tier Pareto analysis tool, right, that we can use as part of training for enterprise level training programs, or we can sell on to the side as some kind of a extra tool that people can use. Not sure, but the point is, how are you doing your trending and analysis? Are you doing it manually? Are you looking at major sets of data every quarter and publishing multi-tier reports that get really deep and surgical, right? Surgical. Tier 1 tells you the biggest frequency outliers and problem areas. And then the next tier 2 will tell you those salient points. Then you can do even more Pareto. You can do a tier 3 Pareto chart and do a tier 4 report on each one of those. So you go as far as the data will take you. All right, let me hear from some of the big labs here. How about Brookhaven?
I couldn't answer that, Rob. You have to ask other people here.
Are you seeing any of the reports coming out on training and analysis?
No, not myself. I have nothing that has been distributed lab wide from
Interesting.
our quality management office, but I'm not aware of any initiative.
Okay, thanks. Brad, Livermore, what are you guys doing for training and analysis?
So yeah, we're doing this ad hoc. So we'll go through our various functional areas and they will present the health of their program, and their areas may include this level of reporting, but this detailed multi-tier Pareto is, from what I've seen, usually reserved for Blue Dragon analysis, what we do, which unfortunately would come on the wrong side of the bow tie. And
right,
we're working to push that to the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I teach it, if you notice, I say, this is what you need to do to stay on the left side, proactive training and analysis of your low-level events, right? So this is what I realized. I went to 2 nuclear power plants. We're supposed to be the best in the world. We're supposed to be ahead of everyone else, especially anyone outside of energy, right? In energy, commercial nukes are ahead of the pack, but we're, light years ahead of aerospace, defense, and everybody else. But I did not expect commercial nukes to not know how to do multi-tier Pareto analysis. I thought I was just, I was trained on it a long time ago. And I thought it was just natural that this would be something that's done. And it's not. Amy?
Sorry. So I have used this in a couple of different functions. I'm using it currently. We're trying to look at, we have some performance problems in terms of closing out corrective actions in the organization I'm supporting right now. We're looking at to kind of narrow in on, do we see recurring problems in certain organizations not closing out corrective actions on time? So I'm using it for that. So I will drill down through that. I tried to use it when I was in a different role in the institutional performance assurance group lead role. But because of the variety of work we do here at the laboratory, trending was difficult. It was a challenge. We've got national security, we've got weapons production, we've got science, we've got, so it was hard to assign an institutional trending hierarchy to our data. And so because that was hard to do at the institutional level, I did do it some, like I did it out of our issues management database, looking at categories of of categories assigned to conditions, discovered conditions, and use that and drill down to try and see, because we were using, I can't think of the categories we were using, but there were some subcategories. And so I was using that to kind of, I did some probably 2 level. I'm not sure I did level 3 on any of them. Done it with DOE cause codes before as well, trying to see within directorates if we see the same causes coming up over and over, and what those were, what's up.
Hopefully it wasn't biased, right? They're coming up because they might have been, and that's where AI can really help. No, Amy, it is a challenge at DOE sites to have 10 siloed organizations, and they don't crosstalk in terms of, it's the same way, I was talking to Commander Blankenship in the Navy. You have, for example, on the East Coast, you have 5 aircraft carriers. On the West Coast, you have 6 aircraft carriers. You would think that would be sort of like all of them send all their input, all their issues to the type commander back on shore, so they can pull all of the data from aircraft carrier events and go to town. No, there's nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that. Way behind the power curve. So I'm considering putting out something that, reduces the time that it takes you to do training and analysis to next to nothing. All I need is your data set.
Yeah. And I was doing all that manually, all that I talked about. That was before AI was the thing. So
and oh my gosh, it is so hard to do manually. Yeah. What was the biggest data set you ever did, Amy? How many rows?
I've worked with a couple thousand rows, and I used pivot tables in Excel and did some manual cleaning of the data using just single line, just removing duplicates and, using functions in Excel. Right. Last summer, I taught myself Python so that I could clean the data before putting it into And take it out of Excel and put it back.
Very good. That's cool. 10 years old Python is no easy matter.
That was hard. I had this thick Python for Dummies. So.
Very good. Livermore, Brad.
Mute. Thank you. Did the plant have these cause codes pre-assigned, or did you use the AI to assign them based off of the descriptions?
The plant started with pre-assigned, and then we asked the plant to recode with AI. It's all these codes were AI generated.
Okay. And that was obviously successful in this case. It was able to do it. Okay.
Yes. And so that was a big deal, right? And that's what we're preaching. To begin with, you don't have a prayer unless you have the right cost codes to start with, not a biased set of cost codes. And also, there's crappy cost codes out there, right? And so I haven't found anything better than IMPO PONC, so that's why I like them. And I know them well from 20 years in commercial nuclear. Who else? Let me see. We've talked to Brookhaven, Livermore, Los Alamos. What about Idaho, Duke? What can you tell us about Idaho's training and analysis? What's going on there?
Well, until recently, with the AI push, it's been manual. You know, I'm no longer in a performance analyst role, but when I was in that several years ago, it was a arduous manual process where honestly I haven't thought about Pareto analysis in quite some time. But with AI and using the existing data, this has just been eye-opening. That I'll have some recommendations to some of our folks as far as some advantages to using AI to get into the data we already have.
Good. What I've been advised to do is to create a separate course on multi-tiered training and analysis using artificial intelligence, and have that be sort of like a standalone course where we go deep using big data sets and explore all the different types of artificial intelligence and what they're good for, right? My final report writing goes to Anthropic. Claude, Anthropic, is great for creating a pretty clean, smooth, beautiful report. Copilot has a researcher function that's really good for certain things. ChatGPT $20 is okay. ChatGPT $200 with researcher with 5.2 Pro is amazing, right? But not everybody's going to go spend $200 a month like I do. So yes, there's different levels of large language models, and I just hope your company picks a good one. But go back to what I said earlier. Get your folks to load data sets routinely. The data sets are procedures, all the procedures, and all your CAP data in Excel. And then you can really do a lot of good stuff with that. Okay, with the right prompts. And I put the prompts that I just showed you, I put those there for fun. I'm not going to give you the data set. That's from one of my clients, but you can at least mimic what I wrote there, right? For the first tier, for the second tier, and for the report. So have fun. All right, Jason Oak Ridge, 2 questions. On the tier data for ER did not match the number shown in the tier 2. That is correct. Tier 1 was 2,800 and tier 2 had like 10,000. I saw that too. So obviously when I did that earlier today, there was no checking and no correlating. The problem that I see with that data set, Jason, is that there were 10,000 rows, but each row had 5 cost codes. And I didn't write the code enough to tell it, make sure you count every single instance in every single row, right? So I don't really know what it did, and I didn't check it, but obviously that's the human part. Humans have to be engaged and catch things like that. I saw it as well. Didn't need to stop and fix that for the sake of this demo, right? To be honest, I just did this at around 1 o'clock. I started, okay, let me just throw it together so I can show you how to step through this, but good catch. And that was question 1. Second, do you use the exact same prompts for both AI systems in your comparison? No, because the first one that I showed you was specific to this data set. The second one that I showed you was also for equipment reliability, but for a different data set. but I just needed to show you the vast differences between the big ChatGPT and the simple Copilot from Excel. That is pretty much the norm from how many times I've used them. So I don't use Copilot when it comes time to writing a report. I'll take the Excel spreadsheet and everything I know, drop it into ChatGPT, and then give that the prompt, and out comes a much better report. And then I might take that to Anthropic and have it clean it. Yeah, so AI is wonderful. Believe me, it's worth the few minutes that you spend doing it, because it's doing so much more than you possibly could in weeks of time. In fact, what I'm pitching is that the way we do this training and analysis will save companies 1 FTE, 2 FTE. Some folks have multiple peoples doing nothing but training and analysis. I know Palo Verde Nuclear had 5 full-time employees doing what I just showed you, constantly, all manual. So there's some gains to be made in terms of full-time employees who are trying to work with large data sets. Or guess what? You're not doing it at all. You're going, and what I tell management is, you're flying blind. You don't have data to manage by. You're flying blind. Where are you putting your money? Resources, corrective maintenance. You're flying blind. And what is it that you're trying to address? You haven't found the negative trend and done the deep dive Blue Dragon to find what's really wrong, to put your money and resources in the right places. That's a sad tragedy, and why we have so many recurring events, why I encourage you to do the hidden cost calculator year in, year out. So every year you can see whether your efforts have actually reduced the significance and the numbers of condition reports that you write each year, right? You should be seeing some sort of improvement, not just a constant 2,000 a year. In the case of one nuclear plant, 16,000 a year, 15, 16,000 a year, never ending. That cost is between 30 to 50 million a year in hidden costs that you're not accounting for that in your budget.
Rob,
thank you, Jason.
question.
Yes, please.
Oh,
shoot.
When you ask them to go back and reassign codes based using AI, do you have any feeling on what was the delta? I mean, was it a 10% got recoded, 20, 50, 80, 90%? I'm just curious, comparing human.
You'll be horrified to know. You'll be horrified to know that it's probably 99%. And it's mainly because I'm using different cost codes system, right? So they're using typically maybe the DOE cost tree, and I just throw that away and replace it with this. So that would be 100%.
Okay, so it was a whole different set of codes then.
Yeah, and I believe me, I have like 6 sets of codes in my toolbox, and I've learned to land on the info PNCs. It has the granularity I need. It has the big one, like equipment reliability, and then it's got like 25 sub-tiered ones to really split out what's really going on. And then I do the deep dive into the actual problem description, right? The actual, what is it? What equipment was it? And we can look for patterns at a deep level. So, but that's all worthwhile if you can change the model and go in that direction. I'm afraid companies are flying blind with all this data laying around. You're not mining the data that you have. Amy says, I think you can use Python to clean up the data where there's multiple cost codes in one cell. Yeah, probably. I didn't bother to sit here and go through 10,000 rows and challenge the cost codes for each row. I'm like, I believe you. Move on. In the end, the deep analysis was very worthwhile. Thanks, Amy. All right, Duke.
Yeah, no, I've just been kind of thinking as we've been discussing here, we have similar challenges, and I'm sure a lot of national labs, unless their mission is very specific, have disparate amount of types of work, such as research and then the nuke operations compared to maintenance. Yeah. Using this can definitely help create the codes that are needed for the disciplines that are struggling to use a specific framework in order which to place their information. But at the same time, you were saying that it's all solely dependent or primarily dependent on that low level data collection when issues arise? And what have you experienced as far as challenges on that front in order to be able to have a good source of data to do analysis?
I'll give you the good, the bad, the ugly. So the good is commercial nuclear. The bad or mediocre is Department of Energy on the energy sector. And the ugly is everybody else outside of energy. It is horrible. They don't document anything. You'd have to basically kill people or have two ships collide in the ocean at a cost of, $200 million in damages for them to start documenting stuff, or, suicides or something like that. But at the Department of Energy, it's kind of hit or miss. There's a wide variety. They are documenting, class D, Delta type of issues on condition reports, right? So they are doing that. Now, not to the level of the commercial nukes. We're doing it in the thousands per year, and most DOE sites are doing it in the hundreds per year. So there's a difference, an order of magnitude. But that's where the rich information is. If you can mine low-level data and find patterns and themes and trends and go after before a bigger event happens, that's return on investment, money well spent.
Where do you look when have you been with companies where that data source isn't as plentiful as a commercial nuke, and where do you look for that information in order to do an effective analysis?
The CAP database is the first place we look, but here's the sad part. I also did trending, or I did my own Pareto by categories, and I look for the types of corrective actions in the corrective action databases, and unfortunately 94% on average of all corrective actions are purely administrative in nature. That's something else that I found. So on the back end, it's a horrible job of actually getting to the issues, because everything is just more training and more procedures, right? Disqualify people, retrain them, and put more notes in the procedure. So we're ineffective on that end. But on the front end, it's kind of across the board. It just seems like there's a reluctance to document. I have to tell you, it's a cultural issue that what I've seen across DOE, and I blame the federal government, the Department of Energy and their site offices, for holding it against you for documenting your issues. So the culture in DOE is much different than at the NRC and the commercial nukes, where we reward you for self-identifying and correcting. And in the DOE, they'll use it to, hit you with less fee. So there's a propensity culturally to hide things in DOE sites that you don't see. So I've done enough work on both campuses, about 20 years in each, by the way, to see a major difference in cultures and the propensities in each. And it's just the way of the beast. Management does not really want to document too much, and they don't want to spend a lot of time finding the real issues, because it can come back to bite them, because that's how the DOE feds work. It's tragic. They're not the best oversight groups in the world. So yeah, Duke, I feel you. And I've been to Idaho a few times. I know them as well. By the way, I spent 6 months at Idaho National Lab in my training days. Brad.
Back on using AI, did you have a prompt that you could share for categorizing the corrective actions based off the hierarchy of hazard controls? Corrective
actions? No, yeah. I don't have I didn't even save it. It's just, it's an easy one, In fact, wait a minute. In fact, a lot of sites already classify, there's a column to classify their corrective actions per the hierarchy of hazard controls. That's what I've been using. Or you can ask AI to reclassify all these corrective actions based on these categories and just feed it the hierarchy definitions. Yeah, that's an easy one. But I would do that exercise, Brad. You'd be horrified to see that over 90%.
I already know.
Okay. You're not going to be surprised.
I've done it for
ineffective.
I've done it for specific data sets for analyses, just to showcase, here's what's been done on all of these ones we're investigating. Here's various corrective actions, and sure enough, they're all administrative and whatnot. But
yeah. Who else would like to input PONCs? I'll create a little email list and send it to the big labs, right? So Los Alamos, Livermore, Brookhaven, Idaho, Scott, and Bechtel. Yeah, just my main contacts at these sites. I'll just send you, and you distribute it. You'll be amazed. It's a lengthy document, but again, we don't have to do it. I drop the whole document, drop it right into AI as a data set, and just tell it what to do. Cool. All right, let's wrap it up. It's after the hour. We've had a great discussion here. Appreciate the engagement and the questions. Any other questions? Because I'll stay as long as you want. I don't have a time limit, and it's too cold to go outside. So I'm going to stay.
Aren't you in Florida, Rob?
I'm in Palm City, Florida, like West Palm Beach, where it's.
And what do you consider too cold?
Well, it was 58 this morning, and I had to bundle up to watch the dog. Keep the hands inside the pockets.
Okay.
Shut up. I know. Oh, goodness.
But Rob, are the iguanas falling out of the trees?
Yes. You heard about that. We have that. And these are not little things. These are like 3-foot beasts. And when one of those falls out of the sky, it's scarier. Heck.
That's unnerving.
Giant iguanas, 3-4 feet big guys. They look like Gila monsters. Yeah, that's a good story. Look it up on YouTube, I guess. Hey, let's wrap it up. I don't want to keep anyone if they have to go. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here.
Rob, have quick question.
I'm going to stick around, so stay around. Okay. Ask me everything you want. I'm not leaving.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mario.
Thanks, Rob. Gave me at least a lot of things to think about and try.
Good, Scott. Reach back out for more info.
I'll let you know how things turned out.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks again. Really appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, Scott. Take care, Duke.
Yep. Hey, Rob. So while the other ones are leaving, so the IMPO performance objectives and criteria.
Yeah.
Obviously, you are a big fan of them compared to the DOE causal codes, right?
Yeah. Sure.
But unfortunately, when we work at a DOE site, we are going to be expected to refer back to the DOE causal code. So have you had any experience successfully using the IMPO codes in a DOE investigation?
No, because they want the DOE stupid.
I mean, I just, but
you know what I do, right? I make it a point to make it the very last attachment of my report. And it's very basic. Here's my root causes, and here's the next nearest cause from the DOE cause tree. And I spent 2 seconds looking at it. And I can't fathom why they wrote a 64-page document to how to select a code from the cause tree. Are you kidding me? Throw a dart. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah, we always end up asking for assistance from our quality management office when we get to the.
Are you kidding me? Like I said, throw a dart. You'll be fine. Yeah. It was, by the way, the history is they're supposed to have done it, trended at headquarters, and they sloughed it off and threw it back at you guys to do for them. Anyway, but I would do both. I would use PONCs with AI. It's easy. And then you can also apply AI to the thing. Give me that code as well. What the heck? Do both.
Okay, thank you.